Yesterday we have discussed in the previous lecture UMP unbiased test for the multi-parameter exponential family of distributions. Let me just recollect the discussion. We had considered a distribution of the type e to the power theta u x plus sigma nu I t I x. Here we are able to derive the UMP unbiased test for 4 types of hypothesis called H1, H2, H3, H4 versus K1, K2, K3, K4 respectively for theta, and here nu 1, nu 2, nu k were considered as the nuisance parameter. Of course, we had considered here that the parameter space is k plus 1 dimension and convex also. A peculiar nature of these tests was that these tests were conditional. Let me show the form here for at least one of them. So, if you recollect the form, the tests were of the form phi 1. So, I am calling it condition on u greater than c naught t, and here this term is gamma naught t, and this c naught and gamma naught are determined from the conditional thing. A extension of this was done later on where we called these as the unconditional tests also. However, the derivation of this we demonstrated by application to comparison of 2 binomial proportions, 2 Poisson arrival rates and so on, and in also in testing for independence in contingency table. In each of these cases we saw that we have to actually determine the conditional distribution of u given t. Now, in the case of continuous distributions, for example, if we consider normal distributions, gamma distributions etcetera, then these conditional distributions are not so easy, because in the discrete case we are able to write down the conditional distribution in terms of probability, and we are able to apply the formula for the conditional probability, that is probability of A given B is equal to probability of A intersection B divided by probability of B, and we are able to actually derive the exact form of the test. In the case of continuous, this conditional distribution may not be so easy. Therefore, we apply a method by which we can modify these conditions u greater than or u less than some constant which is dependent upon t to something, some another statistic, let us call it say w, so that this condition becomes free from t. That means, this new w variable which I am saying, it could be a function of u and t, should be defined in such a way that first of all it should be an increasing function or monotonic function, so that the conditions of inequality remain same or they get reversed. And second thing is that the independence. So, fortunately there is a method, and I will explain that method now in the this lecture here. So, let us consider multi-parameter exponential family. Multi-parameter exponential family. So, the density is of the form, let me write from the yesterday's discussion, f of x theta nu, that is equal to some constant times e to the power theta u x plus sigma nu I t I x, and of course, there will be some term here which is consisting of x here. Here nu is equal to nu 1 nu 2 nu k, and t is equal to t 1 t 2 t k, and this theta nu belongs to certain parameter space, say script theta. So, I call this density 1. As before, I consider hypothesis testing problems H 1 versus. So, we consider H 1 versus K 1, H 2 versus K 2, H 3 versus K 3, H 4 versus K 4, okay, as defined in previous lectures. in case of continuous distributions, obtaining of UMP unbiased tests using conditional distributions of u given t is equal to t may not be convenient. So, we try to remove this dependence on t by defining a new statistic. Let us call it, say, w is equal to a function of u and t. Now, the conditions that we need to impose are as follows. For h 1 versus k 1, w should be independent of t when theta is equal to theta naught. Remember here the hypothesis h 1, here the condition was based on theta naught. If you remember the exact condition here, let me recollect from yesterday's lecture, expectation theta naught here. Similarly, if you see phi 2 and phi 3, here the condition is on theta 1 and theta 2, and similarly for h 4 the condition is on again theta naught, the condition is on theta naught. So, we have to look at the independence of w from t at these points. Okay. So, w should be independent of theta of t when theta is equal to theta naught. It should be monotonic in u. The critical function or the test function phi 1 for this testing problem is modified to phi 1 of w is equal to 1 when w is greater than C naught, it is equal to gamma naught. When w is equal to C naught, it is equal to 0 when w is less than C naught, where C naught and gamma naught are given by the condition expectation of phi 1 w is equal to alpha. One thing we should notice here, I have maintained the same sign, like here u was greater than C naught and here it is w is greater than C naught. If we do that, then we have assumed that h is increasing in u. If h is decreasing in u, then this will get reversed here. For h 2 versus k 2 and h 3 versus k 3, we require that w be monotonic in u and independent of t when theta is equal to theta 1 and theta is equal to theta 2. So, in these cases the test functions phi 2 and phi 3 are given by phi 2 w is equal to 1 when C1 is less than W less than C2, it is equal to gamma I. When W is equal to Ci, I is equal to 1 2, and it is equal to 0 if W is less than C1 or W is greater than C2. And Ci's and gamma i's are determined by expectation of phi 2 W at theta 1 and expectation of theta 2 phi 2 W is equal to alpha. Similarly, phi 3 is given by the reciprocal of this one, that is, it will become 1 when W is less than C1 or W is greater than C2. It is equal to gamma I when W is equal to Ci for I is equal to 1 2, and it is equal to 0 if C1 is less than W is less than C2. Ci's and gamma i's are determined by the size conditions expectation theta I phi 3 W is equal to alpha for I is equal to 1 2. Now, for the testing problem H4 versus K4, now here if you remember, for phi 4 we had two conditions. The second condition was involving product of u with phi 4. So, now if you translate, we need another condition that u should be h should be linear function. So, let me write it here. We need h u t to be a linear function of u. Of course, again I am taking a 2 to be 0 positive. If it is negative, then the region will get reversed, and w to be independent of t when theta is equal to theta naught. Then this phi 4 can be described as phi 4 omega is equal to say phi 3 omega, where Ci's and gamma i's are given by expectation of phi 4 W is equal to alpha at theta naught and expectation of W phi 4 W is equal to alpha times expectation of phi 4 W at theta naught. So, note here, unlike the theorem 2 which I gave yesterday, we had there all the constants depending upon t, that is, they were calculating from the conditional distribution of u given t. But here you see that none of them is dependent upon t. The expressions that I have written, they have become free from t. So, this is the advantage of this technique, and in order to imply this technique, we need to suitably define this function h for various hypothesis testing problems. So, I summarize all these results in the following theorem. Let me call it theorem 3. Suppose x has distribution in multi-parameter exponential family 1 and W is equal to h of u t is increasing in u and increasing in u. Then for h 1 versus k 1, phi 1 is UMP unbiased. If W is independent of t when theta is equal to theta naught. For H2 versus K2, phi 2 is UMP unbiased if W is independent of t when theta is equal to theta 1 and theta is equal to theta 2. For H3 versus K3, phi 3 is UMP unbiased if W is independent of t when theta is equal to theta 1 or theta is equal to theta 2. If H of u t is of the form A t times u plus B t, where A t is positive, then phi 4 is UMP unbiased for H 4 versus K 4 if W is independent of t when theta is equal to theta naught. For the proofs, one may look at the Lehmann and Romano's book, as we have been following this theory from this text here. Now, in order to have the independence of W and t, we will usually require certain result which we can use for independence. Now, one of the important results for proving independence, now remember here either u or t, they are sufficient. In fact, if I look at this in the full version, then u and t is complete and sufficient. If we fix theta, then t is sufficient, and conversely if we fix nu i's, then u is sufficient. So, what happens that certain independence is there if I can use Basu's theorem. So, sufficiency, and then we should have completeness or bounded completeness, and then we should have ancillarity. Let me recollect the Basu's theorem here. Which will be used for proving independence of W and T in various applications. As I have mentioned, I will be briefly discussing, mainly discussing the applications for testing problems in normal distributions. So, the Basu's theorem statement, let me repeat here. Let x be a random vector with family of distributions p theta, theta belonging to theta, and let T be sufficient and boundedly complete. Statistic. If V is ancillary, that is distribution of V does not depend on theta, then T and V are having independent distributions. So, what is important is that we should have one sufficient and complete or sufficient and boundedly complete statistic, and another one should have a distribution free from the parameters. If that happens, then T and V are statistically independent. So, in general we will try that W should be complete and sufficient, and then T should become ancillary or vice versa. As a corollary, we have the following important result. Let P be the exponential family in 1 and taking a fixed value of say theta, then a statistic V is independent of T for all theta provided the distribution of V does not depend on theta. If you look at the family in 1, if I fix the value of theta, say theta naught, then sufficient statistic will become T 1, T 2, T k. Now, if I have another statistic V whose distribution will not depend upon theta, then certainly V and T will be independent. So, we will try to use this. Now, let us consider applications to applications of UMP unbiased tests for parameters of normal populations. To start with, let us consider one sample problems. That means, we are having x 1, x 2, x n, a random sample from normal mu sigma square distribution. Remember here, I have discussed this normal distribution earlier also. I have considered testing for the mean of a normal distribution, testing for the variance in a normal distribution. But the crucial difference was that when I was testing for the mean, I had considered variance to be known, and accordingly the tests which were either UMP for H 1 and H 2 and for H 3 and H 4 it was UMP unbiased, we had obtained. Similarly, for sigma square, when I was doing the testing, then mu was taken to be known, and I had taken without loss of generality to be 0. And once again we had the UMP test for H 1 and H 2 and UMP unbiased test for H 3 and H 4. Now, here both the parameters will be unknown, which is actually more practical. In practice, when we discuss certain population, it is unlikely that one of the parameters may be known. So, the general situation is both the parameters may be unknown, and in this case we will show that when we test for the mean and when we test for the variance, we are in general able to derive UMP unbiased tests for all 4 types of hypotheses, that is H 1, H 2, H 3 and H 4. In particular, I will describe in detail the tests for H 1 and H 4, because they look more natural hypothesis. H 2 and H 3 look more artificial hypothesis. Of course, you can write down the form of the test functions for each of these cases. So, let us firstly start with applications of Basu's theorem firstly. Okay. Example of application of Basu's theorem or this corollary, okay, in the normal population case. So, let us look at the joint density function of x 1, x 2, x n. So, we are writing it as 1 by sigma root 2 pi to the power n e to the power minus 1 by 2 sigma square sigma x I minus mu square, that is equal to e to the power n mu square by 2 sigma square divided by sigma root 2 pi to the power n e to the power minus sigma x I square by 2 sigma square plus n mu x bar divided by sigma square. Note here, this is a 2 parameter exponential family. I am looking at the application of Basu's theorem. So, firstly we will look at the independence part here. If we take say sigma is equal to some fixed value sigma naught. Okay. If sigma naught is fixed here, then this term is going into the h x part of a multi-parameter exponential family. This will become fixed. So, here you have mu x bar or n mu x bar. So, this is 1 parameter exponential family. Then the density is in 1 parameter exponential family and x bar is complete and sufficient. Let us take say u to be any statistic which is translation invariant, or you can say location invariant. That means, I am saying u of x 1 plus c, x 2 plus c, x n plus c, that is equal to u of x 1, x 2, x n for all c on the real line. Now, then I can choose c is equal to say minus of mu. If I do that, then this becomes a function of x 1 minus mu and so on x n minus mu. Now, distribution of x 1 minus mu, x 2 minus mu, x n minus mu does not depend on mu. Okay. So, what we are having? X bar is complete and sufficient, the parameter is mu here, and u is a function which is having distribution. So, distribution of u does not depend on mu. So, by Basu's theorem, u and x bar are independent. In particular, we may take u is equal to say sigma of x I minus x bar whole square. Of course, in the sampling from normal distributions, we know that sample mean and sample variance are independent, but here this is also proved from the Basu's theorem. Now, this is true when sigma square is fixed as sigma naught square. Okay. But the distribution of this is arbitrary. So, if we look at this result here, the distribution of sigma x I minus x bar whole square does not depend upon mu. I am sorry, this is application of Basu's theorem here. V is ancillary here. So, this is following from here. So, u and x bar are independent. Now, let us take another application here. Now, take mu is equal to mu naught, okay? Another fixing of the mean. Then the density is f x sigma square is equal to 1 by sigma root 2 pi to the power n e to the power minus 1 by 2 sigma square sigma x I minus mu naught whole square. So, this is again one parameter exponential family, and this becomes sigma x I minus mu naught square is complete and sufficient. Let us take a scale invariant function v, that is v of c x 1, c x 2, c x n is equal to v of x 1, x 2, x n for all c positive. Then in particular I can consider, see this to be a function of say h of x 1 minus mu naught by sigma and so on, x n minus mu naught by sigma. Then let me call it say w, then w has a distribution free from sigma, because the distribution of x I minus mu naught by sigma is normal 0 1. So, this has distribution free from sigma, and therefore, sigma x I minus mu naught square and w are independently distributed. Suppose I take w is equal to x bar minus mu naught divided by sigma x I minus mu naught square. Then w is scale invariant, because if I change here x I to c x I, then this does not change, c x bar minus c mu naught divided by c square root sigma x I minus mu naught square. So, this gets cancelled out. So, that is equal to w. So, this is scale invariant. So, x bar minus mu naught divided by square root of sigma x I minus mu naught square is independent of sigma x I minus mu naught square. Of course, here mu naught is fixed here, unlike the previous application where sigma was not appearing here, sigma naught was not appearing. So, independence of x bar and sigma x I minus x bar whole square was for all sigma, whereas this result depends upon the fixed value of mu naught. Let me take another example here. Let x 1, x 2, x m be a random sample. Let me take say x 1, x 2, x n be a random sample from normal mu 1 sigma 1 square, and y 1, y 2, y n be another random sample from normal mu 2 sigma 2 square. I also assume that these two are independent. These two samples are taken independently. Then let us write down the joint density of x1 x2 xn and y1 y2 yn. Then that will be f x y mu 1 mu 2 sigma 1 square sigma 2 square, that is equal to 1 by sigma 1 root 2 pi to the power n e to the power minus 1 by 2 sigma 1 square sigma x I minus mu 1 square 1 by sigma 2 root 2 pi to the power n e to the power minus 1 by 2 sigma 2 square sigma y j minus mu 2 square. Now, this I will simplify and we can consider this expression as 1 by sigma 1 sigma 2 2 pi to the power n e to the power minus plus n, if I take square here, this will give minus. So, minus here also it was minus in the earlier case, minus n mu 1 square by sigma 1 square minus n mu 2 square by sigma 2 square, 2 will come here, e to the power minus sigma x I square by 2 sigma 1 square minus sigma y j square by 2 sigma 2 square plus n mu 1 x bar by sigma 1 square plus n mu 2 y bar by sigma 2 square. So, this is a density in 4 parameter exponential family. We may write, say, theta 1 is equal to minus 1 by 2 sigma 1 square, theta 2 is equal to minus 1 by 2 sigma 2 square, theta 3 as say mu 1 by sigma 1 square, theta 4 is equal to n mu 2 by sigma 2 square. We may write T 1 as sigma x I square, T 2 as sigma y j square, T 3 as x bar, T 4 as y bar. So, here the parameter space is natural parameter space. So, the parameter space is 4 dimensional, and also it is convex. So, T is equal to T 1, T 2, T 3, T 4 is complete and sufficient here. Sufficiency follows from the factorization theorem, and completeness follows from the theorem which is given in the lemma, that if a k parameter exponential family contains a k dimensional rectangle, the parameter space of a k dimensional rectangle family, then the corresponding statistic which is appearing in the exponent will be complete. Now, consider say R, that is actually the sample correlation coefficient. If we make change of location and scale, that is, if I say x I goes to say a x I plus b and y I goes to some c y I plus d, then what happens here? If you look at this term, sigma a x I plus b minus a x bar minus b, c y I plus d minus c y bar minus d divided by, similarly here, a x I plus b minus a x bar minus b square root sigma C y j plus d minus C y bar minus d whole square. So, now this if you see here, B will cancel, D will cancel, C and A will come out, and here also A and C will come out. So, we of course put the condition A greater than 0 and C greater than 0. Then this is equal to R again. So, R is invariant under location and scale changes. That means, R is a function of x I minus mu 1 by sigma 1, y I minus mu 2 by sigma 2 for I is equal to 1 to n. Now, the distributions of x I minus mu 1 by sigma 1, that is normal 0 1, distribution of y I minus mu 2 by sigma 2, that is normal 0 1. So, they do not depend upon parameters mu 1 mu 2 sigma 1 square sigma 2 square. So, what we are having now, we have the parameters appearing theta 1, theta 2, theta 3, theta 4, which is a 1 to 1 function of mu 1 mu 2 sigma 1 square and sigma 2 square. The corresponding complete sufficient statistic is T 1, T 2, T 3, T 4, or which is a 1 to 1 function of x bar, y bar and sigma x I square, sigma y j square. Now, what we have demonstrated, the sample correlation coefficient has a distribution which does not depend upon the parameters. So, by Basu's theorem, then T, that is T 1, T 2, T 3, T 4 and R, they are independently distributed. So, this Basu's theorem is very useful result, and I have given applications to the normal distributions, but it has also applications in exponential populations, inverse Gaussian populations. There are various distributions where this Basu's theorem is extremely useful. Let me give an example which is different from this normal populations. Example in say non-normal populations. Let us take say x 1, x 2, x n following 1 by sigma e to the power minus x minus mu by sigma, where mu is any real number, sigma is a positive parameter. That means, I am considering a 2 parameter exponential distribution. Now, this is not a exponential family. However, we have earlier shown that x 1, that is the minimum of x 1, x 2, x n, and if I consider say n times x bar minus x 1, then let me give some name to this, let me call it say z, then x 1 and z, they are complete and sufficient. Now, if I fix say sigma, fix sigma is equal to sigma naught, then what happens? We will get then x 1 is complete and sufficient, x 1 is complete and sufficient. Now, z if I take n x bar minus x 1, this is so now this is completed and sufficient, and the parameter is actually mu now here. And if I consider say n x bar minus mu minus x 1 minus mu, so this gets cancelled out. So, this has a distribution independent of mu. In fact, we know the distribution 2 z by sigma actually follows chi square on 2 n minus 2 degrees of freedom. So, by Basu's theorem, you will have that x 1 and z are independently distributed. So, I have given an example of a non-normal population. Now, let us pay attention to the testing problems. Testing for say variance in a normal population. So, if I am writing down the density function of x 1 x 2 x n, f x mu sigma square, that is equal to 1 by sigma root 2 pi to the power n e to the power minus n mu square by 2 sigma square e to the power minus sigma x I square by 2 sigma square plus n mu x bar by sigma square. So, here I am considering testing for sigma square. So, I will consider here this part as say theta nu e to the power theta u x plus nu t x. So, I have defined here theta is equal to minus 1 by 2 sigma square, u is equal to sigma x I square, nu is equal to say n mu by sigma square, and t is equal to x bar. If I consider say testing problem, so now by the theory that I have developed for that UMP unbiased tests, I can say that UMP unbiased test will exist if I test for theta hypothesis say H 1 versus K 1, H 2 versus K 2, H 3 versus K 3 and H 4 versus K 4. For all the 4 hypotheses, I will have UMP unbiased test for theta. Now, what does testing for theta means? Since theta is equal to minus 1 by 2 sigma square, the test is exactly reflected, and this is an increasing function of sigma square, minus 1 by 2 sigma square. So, if I write down a test like this, suppose I define theta naught is equal to minus 1 by 2 sigma naught square, then H naught theta less than or equal to theta naught versus K H 1 theta greater than theta naught. This testing problem is equivalent to, let me call it H 1 star sigma square less than or equal to sigma naught square versus K 1 star sigma square greater than sigma naught square. Similarly, if I define say theta 1 is equal to minus 1 by 2 sigma 1 square, theta 2 is equal to minus 1 by 2 sigma 2 square, then if I write down the hypothesis problem theta less than or equal to theta 1 or theta greater than or equal to theta 2 versus K 2 theta 1 less than theta 2. then this testing problem is equivalent to H 2 star sigma square less than or equal to sigma 1 square or sigma square greater than or equal to sigma 2 square versus sigma 1 square less than sigma square less than sigma 2 square. And in a similar way, if I consider H 3 and similarly H 4, that is theta is equal to theta naught, that is equivalent to H 4 star theta sigma square is equal to sigma naught square versus K 4 star sigma square is not equal to sigma naught square. Therefore, we have demonstrated here that the theory of UMP unbiased test for multi-parameter exponential families, where we test for one parameter in the multi-parameter exponential family, other parameters are treated as constants, then that theory is applicable for two parameter normal population when we want to test for the variance. I have put it exactly in that framework. Now, let me write down the test here by using theorem 2 that I gave yesterday, where the test was conditional of u given t. Now, what is u given t here? It will be sigma xi square given x bar. That means, the test will be conditional test on sigma xi square given x bar. As I mentioned in the beginning of this lecture that this is slightly complicated problem. What we need to do is to apply the theorem 3 that I gave today. That means, I define suitably a function. So, either in the condition u is greater than or equal to c naught t etcetera, I modify the condition in such a way that the term becomes free from t, and similarly, if I apply the theorem 3 which I gave today, then I need to suitably define a function of this type. So, in the following lecture, I will be doing this work in the detail, that is how to define this function w is equal to h of u t. I will consider it for h 1 versus k 1 problem, and that will be applicable for h 2 versus k 2. It will also be applicable to h 3 versus k 3. However, there will be a problem if I consider h 4 versus k 4. So, in h 4 versus k 4, a new function which is a linear function of u that has to be defined. So, we will demonstrate all of this in the following lecture here.